Welcome to G for G here on YouTube. Today we are in DC Legends and we are taking a look at what is going on for the game here in the middle of October. Now, unlike a lot of games, there is not particularly a Halloween thing going on right now, other than the fact that, you know, Scarecrow came out, but it's not exactly like we are dealing with a Halloween theme. So right now we have two hero challenges going on. One of which is for Enchantress, and the other one is for Star Sapphire. So in taking a look at the Enchantress one, this is where I happen to be right now. Is on 17. I have not currently tried 17 or 18 yet. Let me see how I would fare at this. So my dream team, or my usual team of Broccoli, Legendary Siren, Dr. Poison, and Zatanna, is pretty much one of the best teams that I could put forward, and even they come in under power. However, there's a lot of restrictions over there, so that kind of screws things up. That means if I go for what would actually work, I would really be underpowered. So my Enchantress right now is sitting at 83 of 60. I have not dinged her yet, because I always ding one person a day to count for the legendary daily, and I try not to go over that because I definitely hit gaps where I don't have somebody ready to level up and everything. So I like to smooth that out unless it's somebody that I really absolutely need at that moment. Over here we have a reset daily of Star Sapphire, and I'm at 38 out of 40, so I'm probably going to get her tonight. Well, no, I shouldn't say get her, I should say be able to get her up another level. Here's Scarecrow ready to unlock. And in the new Injustice 2 game, this is actually voiced by the actor who played Freddy Krueger, which is really cool. He does a very good job at it, and I think that is really cool on DC's part to have such another classic voice, and having Robert Englund over there and do the Scarecrow. I mean, Mark Hamill has been the Joker for DC for so long, and is probably one of the all-time best Jokers, even beyond voices. I mean, Heath Ledger and Jack Nicholson were phenomenal actors, but Mark Hamill's voice of the Joker has always been fantastic. So right now, here is what the top of my squad looks like. Enchantress is going to get delayed because Huntress is going to be the one that I ding up to Legendary after today's normal dailies are done. Dr. P, Siren, Broccoli, and Zatanna are still some of my tops. Livewire comes in as a 2-star for me. She is pretty good. The AI is really stupid with her. I've noticed the AI opens up matches a lot by the big level 3 that dumps all the intelligence buffs, when she doesn't even really have any at that moment. She is pretty evasive. She's probably one of the hardest people I've had to hit, even over Enchantress or Siren when she gets her stacks going. I find it's always the most risky to attack Livewire when those are up over anybody else. My Poison Ivy, my Howler doing good. My movie Wonder Woman's doing pretty decent. Cheetah recently dinged Legendary for me. That was somebody I put a lot of work into aside from Huntress. There's a Killer Frost getting close, a Legendary 2 Superman, a getting close to Legendary 2 Harley, a Legendary 1 Lobo. We're going to come back to Chemo in a few seconds. A Deadshot, which I could probably build a team around. I mean, Deadshot and Lobo were really ridiculous in PvP back about a month ago, because every time Lobo died, he would resurrect, and that would feed Deathstroke over here. I'm sorry, I called him Deadshot. But it would feed Deathstroke, and Deathstroke would just keep ramping up and ramping up every time Lobo died and resurrected. Ares, who I've not used in a long time. Blue Beetle, I kind of slowly work up on the side. I still encounter him a lot at my lower ranks of PvP. He does a lot of damage to my broccoli, and that's one of the things that I hate the most about him. He tends to focus on my broccoli a lot. There is my Legendary 1 Vixen, who I've not really worked with a whole lot yet, nor do I really see in PvP. We've had some reworks lately, and we'll get to that in just a moment. So there is Enchantress, there's Star Sapphire. Now, this was really weird. So on Saturday, of course, was the upgrade daily for alliances. It said I had to use Solomon Grundy for energy ones, but Solomon Grundy was never pickable. I don't know exactly what happened, but I have him unlocked, but he did not show up on my list. Now, I don't think it has a restriction of 4 or more stars, but I was not able to use Solomon Grundy for my greens. I don't know why. I was like, I thought I had him unlocked. Oh well, maybe I made a mistake and was confusing him with Cyborg Superman or something. No, obviously I have him. I mean, he's weak as shit, but I have him unlocked. I don't know why I wasn't allowed to pick him. I don't know if it was a glitch or not. And so here are my non-unlocks. Assault Suit Lex, Deadshot, Terra, Reverse Flash. So Reverse Flash, I think, is one of the worst ones that I'm missing. He's super popular in PvP. A lot of people have used him. I know a few people who use a Legendary Terra. They talk about her a lot. Doomsday, Batgirl, Shazam, Jessica Cruz. Nobody ever talks about Jessica Cruz. I never see her. In all honesty, God, she reminds me so much of Jessica Jones from Marvel in just that thumbnail. So my non-unlocked list is actually getting pretty low, and I'm certainly happy about that. And that Lex Luthor is only like 2 frags away. One of the things that bugs me about DC Legends compared to Marvel Avengers Alliance is the fact that there is always shit to do in this game that literally just claws away at your energy. So right now, you know, I have the dailies to do, but there are 2 hero challenges going on, and they both take energy. It's just ridiculous, and you never get the energy supplies that you did in Marvel Avengers Alliance, where you literally had thousands upon thousands of energy backed up. And that sort of bugs the crap out of me when it comes to this game, because aside from energy, it always feels like there's stuff in the store that just grabs at your wallet. And it's not like paywall stuff or an overpowered gadget or, you know, an overpowered weapon like Marvel Avengers Alliance, when you would have the gold sale and you would look at the free weapon and be like, oh man, this weapon's going to be so good. I need to spend money and get gold this month. It's just that it's constantly relatively decent stuff in the store. And I feel like, man, I could spend more on this game in a given month than just about anything other than rent. And even some days, I feel like even that could certainly be a possibility. I mean, look at that. That's 10 energy for just one pathetic little fragment. That's a lot. I'll do one more, just so I can at least be done with that rank for now. But to, like, really die-hard Pokemon types, the gotta collect them all types, or the, the absolutely addicted OCD types that have to have, like, just about everything, this game is probably going to cost that person more than gambling. I can imagine a lot of relationships out there falling apart, not so much for Vegas, but because of the potential spending on this game. And, I mean, not everything do you really have to spend. Like, it's a choice of either nothing or spending. There are certainly choices where the spending is simply a shortcut, and we will take a look at that. So right now in the shop, we have $100 for 25,000 gems and 250 Enchantress fragments. Now, I think this one is a little bit overkill, because we know Enchantress is coming back around. First of all, she is the daily login, which I forget how to get back there. I don't think there is a way back there when you are logged into the game. I might be wrong. Still wondering what that's going to be over here. We still have the pyramid thing to unlock, and we don't really have anything else. This could be very interesting. God help us if that's another thing that winds up taking energy, because that would be absolutely ridiculous at that point. But I mean, look, we have Enchantress this round, and then we have Enchantress coming up after that. So spending $100 to get 250 is a ridiculous shortcut, but you may not have to do that, because honestly, she's coming back around again. And she's the October login, so you might be like, oh man, I gotta spend money now, she's so good, and then realize, like, hey man, I could have just gotten up to that level naturally if I was just patient. This one, the chemo, the 90 to 150, 90 is exactly what I need to get him legendary. So this one is ridiculously tempting. And that's 6K. And as you notice, 6K is essentially $20, $10. That's, that's $30 to get that right there. Or you don't do those two and you get a 50, and then you wind up having, extra. So, like, for me, the Gems of Enchantment's mildly tempting, but I'm smart enough to know I probably don't need to go that deep. This chemo one I definitely want to spend on, because that gets him legendary. And again, I said I like my bleeders because I really, really like Siren. So a legendary chemo is good. However, I just fixed my Siren just the other day and put a legendary point in her AoE. So now her AoE finally gets everybody bleeding, and then she can continue to pick people apart. It's one of the reasons why I like Dr. Poison so much, is throwing out the grenade gets everybody bleeding, and then Siren can just start picking people apart. We also have the Resurrection Pack coming up in your ass like a resurrection, where we have 100 fragments for each of the Rezzers in the game. So Solomon Grundy, Swamp Thing, Doomsday, but not Lobo. If I were to get this, I would get an immediate unlock of Doomsday. Probably maybe 2 levels. I think it's 6. Well, I would at least get the 60, but I don't think I would get the one after that. That's 90. Swamp Thing would get 2. He'd get the 40 and the 60. Not really interested in it. However, people who really go heavy on red alerts would probably really like that pack. I love how they say a limit of 5. Like, who honestly is going to spend that level of money to get even more than one of these. I mean, two of these is 30K. That is a fucking ridiculous amount of gems. And, you know, let's take a look. 30K gems is even more than the Enchantress deal. I mean, 30K gems, that's $100 and then another 5,000 worth of gems. So that is about $125 worth in multiple packs over there. That's incredible. Here is 100 hero fragments for Enchantress and legendary essence. That one's not too bad of a deal. Mega life and then 10,000 legendary essence. For right now, over in social, I've got Green Lantern, I've got Flash, and some arena awards over here. So now let's go ahead and take a look at Scarecrow and Enchantress and see what they are all about. Also, one of the updates that we've had. So here, Dr. Fate recently was just thrown into a couple things because he had a little bit of a rework. So Dr. Fate originally liked intelligence buffs and shielding. Now what he does is he has a chance to apply a heal immunity. Pretty good for PvP. And at rank 4, you can get him up to a 30 chance and eventually a 45% chance of applying a heal immunity. Here is a 90% shield and a 1-hit chance up to a team. So what's really good about this is that helps when you're dealing with people like Livewire. It also is really good. Now, granted, it still would have been just as good if he had the intelligence ups, if you were pairing him up with, say, Cyborg, who gives people turn meter if they're buffed. It's still another buff. It's just different. It used to be related to intelligence. Now it's hit. I think that's actually kind of cool that it's hit because you don't really see a whole lot of that in the game. So it's nice to have somebody in that slot. Wrath of Osiris, special damage to an enemy, apply a heal immunity. So this one is saying it's a guarantee. Again, pretty nice in PvP. Twist of Fate, a passive ability, 20% chance to deal light special damage to any enemy at the start of their turn if they have immunity debuffs. So, there you go. Heal immunity. And anybody who has a heal immunity has a 20% chance to have special damage done to them. If he's a leader, 35% chance to silence any enemy that is healed. So, very, very interesting. He literally works as an anti-healer. I'm sure that could be decent in some areas of PvE and potentially even red alerts. However, this does seem to be a ridiculous kit for PvP. If his AI is good, he might be good on defense. His legendary powers are plus 100 against targets with immunity debuffs. Probably fairly low down on the rank. Apply 3 intelligence up to the team. So this is where his intelligence ups are now. I know he used to have this back before his rework because I used to team him with Firestorm who liked intelligence ups. Again, pretty handy. Nabu's protection is pretty handy if Cyborg is your leader. Especially then if you're now adding the intelligence ups. I would say this is kind of low on the upgrade priority. Special damage to a target. Apply heal immunity. Purge 7 buffs from a target. To me, that sounds good, as it's probably a really nice way of turning off a Lobo or a Taunter. Twist of Fate. Damage plus 50. To me, that one seems to be pretty good, other than the fact that the chance is low. I mean, you're only having a 1 in 5 chance of it proccing, but upping the damage is really solid. Gain 1 awareness when Lord of Order is triggered. Seems very situational. I don't really know which should be your first legendary upgrade for him. None of them jump off the page at me. They all seem to be, you know, none of them are awful, but none of them seem to be super great. I would say if you're going to use them as a leader, this would be pretty good. If not, maybe Naboo's Protection. Or if you're running him with a turn assister that can drag extra level 1s out from him, like say Green Lantern or something, maybe Order of Ra would be good. So those are the changes to Dr. Fate. He got reworked kind of considerably over there. Taking a look at Enchantress, the possessed witch, she comes in as a villain. And there's not much, the wiki doesn't have any information on her right now. I checked because I wanted to find out what the overheal is. So basically an overheal is when you are mended beyond your max health. So if you have a mend going and you are topped off, that's when you get that little purple bar, and that's what an overheal is. Light damage to an enemy, 15% chance to apply a silence if she is overhealed. And then the silence chances go up. Heavy overheal on an ally, small overheal for the whole team. And again, this gets bumped up pretty nicely. She could potentially take the place of Zatanna at that point as a really, really strong healer. However, she doesn't have any cleanses. So that's kind of a big thing. There's nothing worse than being stuck in a battle and knowing maybe you've got some heavy bleeds on you, or if a key character is stunned and you know Zatanna's going to get the turn before the stun, she can fix it. The really good thing is that Zatanna is team-wide. Poison Ivy is single target. Enchantress kind of walks the line between both of them over here, where a single target spills into an AoE. It's the lack of cleanse. I mean, Zatanna's just, she's so hard to get rid of once you get used to her. However, when you legendary this ability, move up to 2 debuffs from each ally to random enemies. So this is actually even better than Zatanna. You just have to legendary it to get there. Moving them is certainly a whole lot better than cleansing them, because now you're essentially bringing she's really a giant mix of Poison Ivy and Zatanna all at the same time. However, the fact is she's mystical, and as a lot of people complain lately, there are so many healers clumped into the mystical category. Mystical Maelstrom. Light damage and apply 1 strength down to all enemies, or 2 if at least 1 ally is overhealed. So, 1 strength down, everybody's considered a debuff. This actually happens to work really well with Zatanna's leadership. If you legendary it, you have a 66% chance to use weakened Mystical Maelstrom when Enchantress is healed. So, my guess is that even Men's, if a Men ticks on her, she's got a 66% chance to use this own ability. That is pretty damn good, because that means with several Men's on her, like maybe Mira's 6-stack, she's constantly applying strength down to the enemy teams, and 2 of them if somebody on her team is overhealed, which Mira's really going to help work out. Passive ability, 66% chance to gain a light overheal when Enchantress is healed. It just makes her it's a positive feedback cycle. She's just constantly healing herself because she's healing herself. If you legendary it, you gain a turn meter. She has a team leader ability where she uses a Verse of Vitality at the start of battle. So, that's a small overheal for the team. That is actually a really good bonus. Now, I don't know what the legendary is until I bump her up, which I'm not doing right away. Shame I can't see it. But I mean, these heal powers eventually get pretty good. She certainly makes a very good case for being a leader. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't look like... I'm going to say that these overheals are probably not going to count as buffs. So I don't think Cyborg would be a particularly good leader for her. Because I'm going to guess it's not like a strength up or an intelligence up where it counts as a buff. She's probably good simply being her own leader. And to me, I think she could potentially pair well with Zatanna if you were really facing very, very hard red alerts. The two of these will probably keep you up well. Dr. Poison with a bleed team and Enchantress would probably be good. Dr. P can do a little bit of AoE healing in a pinch. Well, I think, if I remember correctly, Versa Vitality has a very long cooldown, which makes it a little bit more awkward to use compared to Zatanna's. Zatanna and her would probably be real overkill for the healing, but probably be pretty solid. Poison Ivy and her, I think, would team up really well, as it would make it risky for the enemy team to debuff you. You just keep sending it back over the fence. It's like playing a really good game of dodgeball. And I think she definitely can stand alone as her own team healer, especially once you begin upgrading Versa Vitality up. As for her legendaries, which one you should go first, I think if she's going to be your primary healer, if you're like, man, I really, not that I hate Zatanna, I just want to move somebody else into that slot, then Versa Vitality could probably be your go-to first legendary. However, if you're using her with a turn assister, legendary Banishing Blast is pretty good. The thing is, who gets the Versa Vitality when this happens? 66% chance to use a weakened Versa Vitality. So she's doing a single target attack, okay? Who gets the verse? Her or a random ally? That's kind of a key question that needs to be answered. It seems like legendary 1 and 2ing Banishing Blast and Versa Vitality is a good way to go, because these two feed into each other a little bit. If you have the random chance here to use a weakened Versa Vitality on the Banishing Blast, and it has this tack to it, in other words, talented, will you use a talented Versa Vitality? That could be really very good, especially with turn assisters. Mystical Maelstrom is pretty strong to legendary. But you may only want to do that if you know somebody's keeping mens up on her, or she's running with another healer. Then again, that's another really good one to have legendaried if you're legendarying the Banishing Blast over here. It honestly sounds like this should be the first one, because it sets up a domino effect on everything else. You could legendary Banishing Blast and then legendary this, because when she gets healed from the Banishing Blast using Versa Vitality, she could use a Mystical Maelstrom, which keeps the enemies debuffed. Really, you could either go 1-2 or 1-3. It all depends on what you're looking for. Speak Enchantress, I think, finally is weak enough not to really be a candidate for a #1 legendary. But I kind of think it all starts with Banishing Blast, which makes the $100 package really tempting, because you know you could get both of them like all at once. So I'm just tabbing through over here to get the Scarecrow. So here's Scarecrow. Spine Tingler. Damage to an enemy. Apply a hit chance down. Sort of the opposite of what we've seen with the hit chance up. 2 hit chance downs for legendary. Fear Gas. Apply 2 hit chance downs to all enemies. So literally Dr. Fate is running as an opposite of Scarecrow. If invisible, apply 1 agility down for each hit of chance down. For each hit chance down. Living Nightmare. Deal damage to an enemy plus 3 damage per debuff on the target. 7% chance to apply a stun per debuff on the target. So I'm going to guess that if somebody has 5 stacks of bleeds, that's going to count. So he might go really well with a heavy bleed team. Scare Tactics, passive ability, start battle with invisibility, 20% chance to gain invisibility at the start of each enemy turn. Really, really nice. And then Dread to Rights, team leader. If enemies miss an attack, 20% chance to use Living Nightmare, which is that one. Deal damage to an enemy. So, what Dread to Rights works out really well is if his teammate has evasion ups. So not only are you applying hit downs to the enemies that could proc this, but if you're running somebody like Livewire with evasion, or Huntress with evasion, or Siren with evasion, Dread to Rights could be a very good leadership ability. The other thing you could do with him, I believe, doesn't one of the Batmen have an invisibility? Somebody had an invisibility leadership. Oh, that's if he grabs. I thought there was somebody who had, maybe it's Robin. I thought there was, didn't somebody have a leadership ability that said if you take damage, you have a chance to go invisible? Or am I smoking crack? Is it this? Aha! Each ally has a 33% chance to go invisible when critically hit. So that means Robin is a huge bonus to Scarecrow. Because not only can he put out... So if he goes invisible and then applies an Itinichi Ryu, he applies bleeds. And he can also apply silence. So that is 6 bleeds. Alright, so 5 bleeds and a silence. That's 6 debuffs on a target. And he helps Scarecrow potentially go invisible if he's critically hit. Speaking of which, I don't really know what I should legendary on his first one. That works out really well. Gain 1 strength up per invisibility on the team. If Scarecrow's going to go invisible so much, that's potentially 2 strengths right there. Especially if used in the beginning of battle, because Scarecrow starts with invisibility. Robin is really nice with Scarecrow. That's really surprising to see that kind of synergy on so many levels. 35% chance to gain invisibility if Robin is invisible at the beginning of his turn. Yeah, you can set up an invisibility team of Scarecrow, Batman, and Robin and watch them all play off each other. Watch them all play off each other like that. The only issue is that's a lot of physical. That is a lot of combat red over there. Who would go good with that? You would want to find somebody blue or green. You could do a bleeder. Apply 1 bleed to all enemies. 30% chance to apply an extra bleed to all enemies. Can't miss. That's pretty solid. Fallout. Apply 1 speed down to all enemies. 18% chance to -15. Blah, blah, blah. Only if 6 bleeds. 15% chance to apply 1 bleed to enemies that damage chemo. Potentially chemo would work out well. More bleeds as a debuff, especially with the well, the turn meter down's not a debuff. Well, speed down. Yeah, chemo, Robin, Batman, and Scarecrow might be good all together. So yeah, that's what we've got going on over here. We've looked at Enchantress, we've looked at Scarecrow, we've gone over the rework of Dr. Fate, who seems to literally be Dr. Anti-Scarecrow in a bunch of senses over here. I've yet to see Scarecrow show up in PvP, and I have actually even yet to see Enchantress show up in PvP, although she certainly could be interesting. So there you have it, folks. And again, looking back in the shop, you have $100 for a super buff Enchantress. You've got Chemo coming in at 6k for 90 to 150 fragments. 300 fragments for a bunch of Rezzers without Lobo. And 100 fragments for Enchantress. If you're really looking to speed her up, honestly, I think this one might be... Well, for me, okay, if I were to pull the trigger now, I would be at 13 of 90. And then the 100 certainly would Legendary 1 her right then and there. If I was to look at this one, and I clicked it, so I'd be at 13 out of 90, and then another 250. It's not too bad. But man, again, like, this game just grabs at your wallet so much. It's absolutely incredible. So, there you go, folks. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see you out on the DC battlefield.